Ladies, gentlemen, and friends beyond the binary, welcome to this stream that I'm doing for today. I'm going to turn that music down. For today, Tariff Day. Hello! My name's Tristan, and I'm the host of a number of projects. I am the host of the YouTube channel Step Back, and I'm one of the co-hosts of the podcast It's Probably Not Aliens. And every so often I come on and do a thing where I hang out with people for a couple hours, talk about the world, talk about stuff that's going on, and we have a good old time doing it. So yeah, what a day. I was so kind of busy at work that I didn't even really follow it, the blow-by-blows, until lunchtime. But anyways, boy, what a month it's been. So, yeah, if you want to support my work, you can subscribe to this YouTube channel. I have a Patreon. There's super chats. You know, since everything's about to get a whole lot more expensive here in Canada, whatever you can to, you know, assuage your guilt over the president trying to choke my country into becoming another fucking colony of your weird-ass fucking empire. Anyways, I'm Tristan, and we're going to talk today about, I don't know, whatever comes up, really. But the big thing is that people in the chat, we kind of start a conversation. I feel like 65 times more chill because of the music, and also because people that haven't noticed, I got new glasses since the last stream, and I feel like these glasses make me look, I don't know, a lot more chill. And so I'm feeling in a very good mood despite everything. And that's the thing, we are also at the end of the day an anti-doomer podcast, or stream, or whatever you want to call it. And so I try not to, you know, lean too much into the everything is fucked train. And so we just have a good time chatting, you know? Yeah. Glasses look good. Yeah. When I got new glasses, I tried on like 10 different pairs because I was like, you know what? The thick rim glasses are kind of so 2010. And I tried all sorts of different pairs, and this one was one of the first ones I tried, and it really sparked joy. Like, I saw this pair of glasses and I was like, yeah, this is it. I love this. And then we tried on a whole bunch of other pairs, and at the end of the day, I just came back to this one. So I'm super happy. I love it. And yeah. But because we're an anti-doomer show, one of the things that we start all of our streams with is with wins. We collect W's. Because, you know, I think that in ages like this, where wins are in short supply, we should celebrate each one we get. So, you know, I would say that that's... Don't worry about the sound there, it'll go away in a sec. But yeah. So what I would say is, if you have a win, a W from the last month, please put it in the chat. Say hello. And yeah. Let's have fun. Let's talk. Why not? Who we got in the chat today? We've got Beef Punchard. We've got Nordic Mountain, Janessa Card. We've got Nordic Mountain again. Math Gene, Med Math, and Sophie. Hello. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the stream. All right. What? I guess I should start with my own offered copy of my novel. It's on the way to a friend of mine. Yeah. Yeah. Me. I bought your novel, and it's coming to my house eventually. What is this? What happened in the last month that I can brag about? Because I feel like the last time that we talked, it was during my vacation, and I can't remember. I guess it wasn't that long ago because, like, during my vacation, I got my G2, so now I could drive all the time, and now I do drive a lot. You know, I'm able to drop off the kid daycare and drop my kid off at work or drop my wife off at work and, you know, do all that kind of stuff. I also wins. I did go and get the new glasses, and when I went to the glasses, I had to go to the optometrist again to get a new prescription. It turns out my prescription got better, so my eyes are actually getting better. That's nice. No underlying issues. And just to max out the fact that I have insurance, I also went to the dentist. And the dentist was like, "Teeth look pretty good." And I'm like, "Hell yeah. Hell yeah, brother." So, I'll take those where they are. You went jaundice last December, gave up drinking, and today you found your liver's fully recovered. Nice. Man, that's a tough thing to do. Congratulations. Yeah. Pretty cool. Congratulations, that's a major life milestone. Yeah. I'm trying to think of like some other good thing. Like the thing is that like now that like, you know, settling into normal work life, family life, my day-to-day isn't like super. Not a lot happens anymore. Not a lot cool stuff happens anymore. I guess. Oh yeah, I did do. I have been doing a D&D campaign with the local library. That wrapped up last week, and people seem to be really big fans. Big enough that they actually started a Discord server and want to play another like campaign like unofficially. So that should be fun. What do you miss? You doing wins yet? Yeah, we're doing wins. Yeah, I'm kind of trying to you know, stall for time while people put their wins in the chat. Mid and Matt's first D&D campaign is going great. They had 2 sessions back to back this weekend. Huge fun. Oh boy. Now that's a weekend I would like to have. I need to take a trip of some kind. I need to go to Toronto and like see things. I need to go away for a weekend and do something fun. Library D&D is such a good idea. Yeah, it is. Although I will say there were some interesting quirks about library D&D. Specifically, so normally the D&D program is for kids, but I was given the adult program, so I got the one that was all grown-ups, which is fine. But one of the things is that it was definitely one of the things that he did is one of the things that happened definitely is that that the library program, whoever made the D&D program, does not know how D&D works. So we had this group where we had 5 players and 3 DMs for a 7-week campaign. And each of the sessions was 90 minutes. So just like nobody who's actually run a D&D session actually designed this schedule. So, but we ended up making it work. We did, like we had one person do 2 and one person do 2 and I did 3. And we kind of had a good ending, so. Do you still have regular contact with Thoughts On now that he's not in your D&D group? He's still in my D&D group. We what's it called? We play online every Wednesday. So yeah, we still what's it called? We still have a campaign that's been going. We're on our third campaign with our like regular Wednesday night group, which is right now it's like the campaign we're currently on is I think about a year in, having a lot of fun with it. Yeah, good time. Yeah, the library D&D group, we ran Dungeon of the Mad Mage, and we managed to have it end with them fighting a flesh golem, kind of like a Frankenstein thing, as a way to earn a favor with the Xanathar's Guild. Very fun. And it was all people, like I think pretty much everybody had like never played before, and they needed experience, and a lot of the DMs also didn't have a lot of experience, so, you know. Let's see what the chat's like. Let's see. ZMS got a number of wins to share. They wrote a song this past month. Yeah, that's good. Man, it's about getting up and flying again, even if they drag us down. Sometimes I feel like the rough times is like when the best music comes out, because, you know, music comes from the heart, and when you're fucking pissed, I feel like it's like where half a punk comes from. Tarbox cleaned house over the weekend. Very nice. Llama Vision sowed spinach and peas in the new garden bed that you put together last month. Well, la-di-da, Llama Vision living somewhere where there isn't snow right now. Very nice. I'm going to try and take my vegetable garden a little bit more seriously next year. And, you know, because I have tried to grow a vegetable garden every year. And every single time, squirrels fuck it up. So I need to. I'm going to try to find a anti-squirrel protection mechanism to make my vegetable garden work this year. So that's fun. Let's see. You approached your local NDP writing association during the election. Long story short, you were the NDP candidate for Bruce Gray Owen Sound. That was my February. Well, interesting. You came in 4th place, but you feel like you won. Nice. That's pretty cool. I like that. That's pretty ballsy. That's pretty ballsy. I feel like as a person who is also in an NDP riding association, that is a must be a very, very small riding association, because I felt like even in my, you know, area where our neighborhood doesn't have like, you know, isn't like, well, I guess ours is like, because like at the provincial level we have an NDP MPP that has been in power for like I think she's been holding her seat for like nigh on a decade, so she got closer than probably we would like, but still won. But federally, we got redistricted, and it's really weird because we had we have a writing association primarily made up of people who are not in that. Like, we have a writing association made up primarily of people who are not living in the writing that then we were running the writing association for. And so we have to like do this weird thing where we had to help pick a candidate, but we weren't able to vote in the actual like race to see who would be the candidate. And then I guess once the federal election's over, we're in a new riding, and so we're kind of done. And the new riding that we're in is a very like it's like the downtown riding, and so it's a much more competitive space and a lot more wild. So 90 minutes is like one combat encounter, nothing else. Yeah, we managed to make it work somehow. We managed to make the combats really like the thing is that they were like, you know, they were still figuring out the game, so very much we kept the combats very like simple and very like fun. and we tried not to make them too complicated, and then focused a lot more on like, you know, exploration and messing around. And then when I got it, I was like, okay, we've got 3 sessions left. We should probably make some kind of like storyline. And so I had the goblin encounter that they were about to do turn into them making a deal to take out somebody else. Then we had, you know, 1 session of them getting to the boss and fighting the boss. And then we had a final session where they defeated the boss and wrapped everything up. It worked out really well. I was surprised. We only ever once had to have a game where we ended the session midway through a combat, which I was yeah, as you said, with 90 minutes, that's not very easy to do in D&D, especially because for some reason, because I wasn't there when we picked, they chose the campaign where people start at level 5. So these people who had never played before playing level 5 characters. Oof. But luckily we had most of the people chose pretty easy first-time classes. Like I think we had like a ranger and a fighter and a rogue and a paladin and a bard. Does the kids D&D group need to have a lot of rules to keep people from being gross? As far as I know, no. I mean, I haven't run the kids one. The kids one are they're not like chilled, like they're not like babies. The kids groups I think are mostly like high school students, like teenagers. And one of the things they made us do, which they also make the kids do, is when you start a one of these like campaigns, these 7-week campaigns, you have to sign a contract saying that you won't do, you know, X, Y, or Z. We still have some stuff about them getting too carried away and stuff like that, but for the most part, like that, as far as I know, the problems aren't that common. And like when we ran it for a group of adults, and we had a pretty easy time of it. So yeah. We just, you know, didn't hold on to the story too seriously. We didn't hold on to the rules too seriously, and we kind of just rolled with it, and we had a good time. Let's see. As an American, Canada should split from the British monarchy, but the U.S. annexing and invading it is the wrong way of doing it. Yeah, that's why, like, yeah, people were like, you know, like, yeah, that was some shit. Like when they were like talking to King Charles, and it was like, how do you feel about losing one of your realms? And it was just like, I really, the last person on Earth that I give a shit about their opinion about Canada's annexation is the fucking king. Fuck that guy. Canada, I want Canada to be a republic with a super fucking weak president. That'd be great. Wouldn't that be just be dandy? Yeah. But I think we'll come out of it. I think that, yeah. Hope you make a video sometime soon. Hope you and your family are doing well during this uncertain and dark time. Free Palestine. Thank you, Evan. I appreciate all of that. Yeah, I am working on a video. I would have shut down my Patreon if I was not. I'm working on a video about the Hindutva movement. And I actually just had a really good conversation last Friday with a person from the Indian American Muslim Council? Or some council, I think, or association or something like that, and they're gonna get me hooked up with a bunch of like cool scholars and stuff. So I'm really excited about that. I'm having a pretty good time with that. Sending good vibes to the little one. Thank you. Yeah, little one is the dad in me wants to respond to the crying child. My empathetic heartstrings are plucked. Yeah. His mom is putting him to bed right now, so you know, a fight, and he's 3, so a fight is happening. You know, as a parent, you know, you know what that's like. First start at level 3 or as a new player, level 1 is definitely the way to go. Yeah, level 1, and then like give them like 1 encounter, and they're level 2. Like, level 1 is really good to start because you're not overwhelmed with choices and stuff like that. but also you're very, very squishy and very fragile. It's so easy to kill a level 1 player. But you give them like one good combat and they're level 2, and you're already off. You're doing great. Yeah. Does that contract include SA stuff? I know for a while back there was bullshit controversy about chuds getting upset about the idea that a DM should introduce a rape monster or whatever. I mean, I'll say this, that the library doesn't let us do homebrew. The library tells us we have to run a pre-written adventure, which I was like, not super on board for, but I managed to have a lot of fun with it anyway, so it worked out. Yeah. Do we have any more wins before I kind of go into the more serious questions that people are starting to put in the chat? I honestly don't remember the contract though, but I don't think it like explicitly said no sexual assault stuff, but it definitely said like, hey, like they don't like. I definitely remember it saying something about like not even like swearing. So I imagine it kept it pretty. They were like, I think they were like saying something like keep it PG or something like that. I always watch your video on the Vietnam War creating KKK members and how a Vietnam trained them. I really enjoy digestible. Your content is truthfully great. What books or authors do I like? Ooh, I mean, I like a lot of authors. It depends. Are you looking for like, you're looking for like more like history and writing and stuff like that, like sort of more like stuff like on that subject matter? Because if you want something that's kind of like in that vein, the series that I did on the white nationalist groups was very heavily inspired by Kathleen Belew's Bringing the War Home. So if you want like sort of the book version of those videos, that's a really good place to start. If you're into that exact type of content as well, a really, really good podcast is called Weird Little Guys, which is done by this journalist by the name of Molly Conger, and she covers a lot of the same subject matter in a way that is way more in-depth and detailed than I ever got into on Step Back. So highly, highly recommend Weird Little Guys. Let's see. I think of some like really, really good books I've read in the last like year or two. I really liked. I'm opening up my Goodreads right now to try to see. Oh yeah, I really liked the book. I really liked Talia Levine. I'm reading her second book right now, but I read her first book a couple years ago and it was really good, which was called Culture Warlords. So Talia Levine's really good. Right now, I'm reading a book called The Next Civil War by Stephen Marsh, but I haven't read far enough to know if it's any good. But he's been interviewed a whole bunch of times during all of like the sort of tariff and trade war stuff, because he's like a Canadian author who wrote a book about America descending into civil war, and it came out back in 2022. So he's like, really, he's doing the rounds on the media. Let me go look at my 2024 book challenge, because I got to see like my all the things, because I've been reading a lot of fiction lately as I've been like trying to kind of detox from doing Step Back full time, because when I had to put out a video every month, basically I had to read like for one Step Back video I probably had to read like 10 or 20 books, which was just like being in grad school, which means that I was like basically doing this sort of grad school grind for like years and years and years. And anybody who's gone to grad school and then they finish grad school will tell you this, that that kind of way of approaching text totally fucks with your ability to read afterwards. And so I've been trying very hard because I love reading. Reading is like I read a lot more than I like watch TV and stuff like that. Like I read probably like 20, 30 books a year, and when those were all like history books and they were all like dark stuff too, I was like relentlessly like having to finish all of these books for work, So I think in 2023, the last like full year that I was doing Step Back, I think I read something like almost 50 books. It was like it was brutal. It was a grind, and you know, you do anything that you like that much, and you're going to burn yourself out. And so I'm trying to like, you know, reel it back and get more into these things. So I'm trying to see if I can find. Let's see if I can find on Goodreads, because I use Goodreads to track my books. Let me see if I can find like the books I've read recently that I really liked. But Talia Levine is a really good one. I think that Talia Levine's Culture Warlords, and I haven't read too much of Wild Faith yet, but it's pretty good from where I'm going. Let's see. We'll have to watch a Step Back where you play through Suikoden 2. I don't know what this game is. That's the thing, is that the games that I like playing are not the kinds of things that history fans like. Like, the video, like, I haven't played a whole lot of video games lately, but the kind of video games that I like are like Dwarf Fortress and like Elite Dangerous and like I like a lot of games where there isn't much of a story. Story isn't like a thing. Like, I don't like, or should I say, I don't like games that have like, you know, strong, pre-written, pre-done stories, you know? Like, the only game in recent years that I have played that has like a predefined story is like probably there's two. There's Baldur's Gate 3 and a game called Hard Space Shipbreaker. And in Shipbreaker, I could not care less about the story of the game. I like my games where they have a kind of emergent story that is that less has like a pre-scripted thing and more kind of emerges from your interaction with the game systems. So I like games like Dwarf Fortress, Stellaris, Caves of Cud. That kind of stuff is like the way that, like, to me, that is where gaming excels as a medium of storytelling. Because like a lot of times when I like try to play a game that has like a really linear storyline with like cutscenes and everything like that, it's like fine, but in many ways it's like trying to use the language of, like, you know, television and movies to with like a kind of game attached to it. Like, I remember there was this game called Soma that I was really into the story of it. But the gameplay, like, very much it was like, here are some snippets of story in between a kind of like meh game. And so I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna like watch somebody play it and do that. And I feel like I ended up doing that for The Last of Us as well. Just where I was just like, I'm just gonna watch somebody play The Last of Us because those kinds of games very much just use, or very often will use, like the medium of, like, you know, cinematic storytelling in order to tell a game story. But I think that game stories are best when they like kind of emerge from the sort of the systems and mechanics of the game. Like, I think that some of the best, you know, storytelling in games happens when you're playing like board games or when you're playing like tabletop miniature games or things like that. Yeah, and let me see if there's another. Let me see if I can find my. Let's get back to the Goodreads, shall we? So I can find the thing. All right, my red list, and then I'll go by the date read. And try to see if I can find some good ones in here. Today I just finished the book Fire and Blood. Really good audiobook. It's like it's a Fire and Blood is like it's a George R. R. Martin novel based on, it's like a history, but it's like a history book. I think the show House of the I do know because it's in the book, but the show House of the Dragon is based on it, but it's written like a history book, and you can dip in and out and not lose too much. and that is like the perfect kind of like audiobook book. But yeah, let me get a few of the. So let's see, Doppelganger. Doppelganger by Naomi Klein is a really good book to read to understand like the kind of current moment. If you want to understand a lot of the people in the sort of in like the sort of Trump presidency and like a lot of like how do people go insane in super particular ways. Doppelganger is a really good example because Naomi Klein writes about how she's often mistaken for Naomi Wolf and how Naomi Wolf went fucking crazy. So that was a solid read. I read that one back last year. Yeah, there's Will Sommers' Trust the Plan, The Rise of QAnon. That was a good one. Rutger Bregman's Humankind, which I made my video about in my last like sort of video as a full-time YouTuber. Philip Short writes really good, like really in-depth biographies. I know he did one of Mao. I read his book on Putin, and it was pretty good. Yeah, I think that's like a few of like some really good ones to kind of get going with. Okay, let me go up to the top here and let me see. Okay, so right at the beginning of the chat, but even before I started, Nordic Mountain asked if Trump was being friendly with Putin so that he can have his geopolitical support when he plans to annex Greenland and Canada. I would say not, that is not the case. I mean, that implies Trump having a lot more of a plan than he actually does, at least as far as I can tell. The thing is that Trump is friendly with Putin because Trump is not smart, and Putin knows that, and Putin probably also like sees Trump as a useful person for his geopolitical goals, which is usually weakening the United States and its grip over the world. So Putin like probably does a lot and probably probably has a pretty good relationship with Trump because he knows that sucking up to him will and doing things to kind of get him more of an established power base is like a way for him to do what his geopolitical goals have always been, which is sow chaos in the West in order to have the West not fuck with them when they do their own geopolitical things, like, invade Ukraine, for example. So, because Putin's like, I feel like, because one of the things I always try to remind myself is that people do things for reasons, and that Putin, in his own mind, doesn't think that he is a supervillain, right? He's like, he has his own ideas for how the world should be, and instead of understanding him as a villain, understanding his own motivations for doing things is kind of important for understanding how the world works. And Trump, same thing with Trump, right? Like, Trump doesn't think he's a bad person. But understanding the sort of mentality that he comes from is kind of hard to do. But I don't think that he has this like multi-step plan to take Greenland. I think that he made a joke about Canada becoming the 51st state, and it got a really good response on Twitter or Truth Social or whatever the fuck. And so he's just been like keeping it up as a way to because he knows it plays well with his base, and he then like writes himself into a corner where he has to do all this shit, and then it hurts because he'll try stuff like throw a blanket 25% tariff on all Canadian goods, and then it causes the stock market to crash. And then I already hear that he's actually, I gotta find the sources on this, because I just heard once on TikTok and once my wife told me, and I don't know where she read it, but the idea that Trump might already be like tomorrow he'll be like getting rid of the tariffs. So it like lasts all of a day or something like that. Who knows? But even though every time he does this, like all the countries that he threatens keep working on trying to make their economies independent and their trade system independent of the U.S. And every time he does it, like, you know, the fact that the U.S. could go into a fucking crazy land again means that, like, you know, fewer people are investing in the U.S. Fewer people are going to put their money in a stock market that could tank any day. And overall, you know, instability is the thing that, you know, investors and stock market people don't like. And so it's going to be overall pretty bad for the economy. I mean, the U.S. stock market has been basically going down nonstop since Trump has been president. So, you know, it's going. Do I have thoughts on the 50501 movement? I have heard this before, but let me just get this mixed up. So it's an organization to protest the policies and actions of the second Trump administration. Okay. I honestly don't know enough about what's going on with this movement to be able to make a comment, but who knows? I mean, the thing is that, like, there's a lot of energy that is against the current administration, and someone's got to capitalize on it. It's got to formulate into something. And if it's organized through this movement or whatever, something will take hold. And so, why not this? You know, the only thing is that could it really be a Tea Party level success? Because the thing is that, and this is always a thing of, like, you know, left wing movements in general, is like they don't have the Koch brothers, you know, shoveling money into its maw to keep it going. You know, you don't have conservative think tanks pumping billions of dollars into left-wing propaganda channels on YouTube to keep people radicalized. And unfortunately, without that kind of, like, you know, money in a capitalist society, you're always going to be like, you know, it's always going to be an uphill movement. When you beat Baldur's Gate 3, it was fun. Nice. I'm in a tough situation with Baldur's Gate 3 because I enjoyed the game and I played it for quite a while, and I had a single save that went from, like, the day the game came out until they put in the patch that changed mods. And I had some mods in place to just make the game a little bit easier, like sort of like quality of life stuff. And it broke my save. So now I had to start over from scratch. And I'm just like, if you think that I'm, like, you know, not the biggest fan of, like, games that have, like, you know, pre-scripted linear storylines, imagine doing it again. You know, the exact same thing again. And it's like, oh my god, I've already done this part of the story. Why are we doing this? So, you know, sometime I'm gonna finish it because it's still a really good game. I still enjoy it. It's really well, like, for a linear story, it's, like, really well written, and it's really, like, you know, fun, and the characters are really good. But I'm just like, why would I want to play with, like, a party with people like Gale and stuff like that when I could do Caves of Cut and make all my own party? You know, that's like my thought process. Graduated mental health group, and your partner just got pharmacy tech certified yesterday. Nice. Good stuff. On the NDP, right? I actually did get an email during this last election from the Green Party asking me to be a candidate, and I said no. Because I did not want to please. That is definitely not a thing I wanted to do. All right, let's see. Your pomegranate citrus trees are trying to break bud and come out of dormancy. I wanted to make sure if they wouldn't survive their first winter in the pit. Ooh, dang. IMO is an American Canada. Yeah, we covered that. Let's see. Are you sure you still want people to watch your white nationalist videos, given how the relevance that they have these days? Sarcasm. Yeah. I hate how relevant the stuff that I did was. I'm very much, I feel like Ian Malcolm these last few years, just being like, God damn it, I hate being right all the time. I said, and people who have been watching these streams for a long time will know, I have said this. I said the day after Joe Biden won the election that Trump was going to pull a Grover Cleveland. And what fucking happened? What fucking happened? I knew it from the second that they rat-fucked Bernie and they put Biden on the ticket, and when he won, I was like, yeah, this is not going to last. Trump's just going to get reelected in like 4 years because this is absurd. And then when Trump started his like reelection campaign, he kind of sucked. Like, people were counting him out like a while ago, and they thought he was cooked. Because he did this speech and he looked all tired, and I don't know. It kind of didn't play out really well, and so people were like, "Oh, it's gonna be Ron DeSantis." And then Ron DeSantis kind of shit the bed, and now we're here doing this. Isn't life grand? Let's see. Your wife and I visit the anarchist bookstore in Haight District, San Francisco. It's called Bound Together Bookstore. I highly recommend it. Nice. Man, okay, I'll have to remember that when I go to San Francisco. I don't know when I'm going to go to San Francisco. I don't think I'm going to be going to the United States anytime soon. So, got to do my part for the Canadian trade war and not go to the United States and spend money on the United States, right? These books are great. I also dabbled in fiction. Recently read Police, a Field Guide, and nice. I'm actually one of my kind of low-key projects that I'm taking more and more seriously these days is a fiction project. I don't know what I'm going to do about it, because there's this weird thing that I have an audience for my non-fiction stuff, but that here's the thing, I've never written a novel before. I've never written anything before, or I've never written I haven't written any serious fiction before, and so it very well could suck. But if I write this novel in quotations, then I hope it's going to be good. Who knows? That's but there's no guarantee, right? But there's kind of a pressure, since I'm a content creator, to try and get it out there, when I could be bad at writing. I think I have I have a lot of skills at writing that will help me, but there's nothing about my YouTube career that says that I'm a good writer of fiction anyway. But I have a really solid idea, and I think that it is the kind of story that I need right now. And hopefully, if I put it out, if it's good enough that I can put it out there, that other people will need. But I have a very interesting plan about it, because it has a very unique structure. So this is the idea. I'm not going to get into I'm not going to describe this hypothetical novel to you, so don't worry, I'm not going to go into too much detail. But the idea that I'm going for is to structure it in kind of a way what's the best way to describe this? It is it's going to be, on its face, a short story anthology. It's going to have what I'm hoping to be about 12 short stories. Maybe I don't think they're going to be 2-page stories. They're going to be probably, I don't know. They're going to be as long as they're going to be, but they're going to be designed to be short stories. But the idea is that it's going to have the same characters, the same setting, the same they're going to take place in chronological order, and it's going to have a larger overarching story and several like kind of like smaller like 3 or 4 story arcs that are going to be kind of like a season of television basically. And I'm hoping that I can like at the end of the book have like 12 distinct stories that all are like interesting, and then also have like a sort of big arc that gets told throughout the entire novel as well. And then also there's like a bunch of other like character driven things along the way. I don't know if that's going to work. It's kind of a weird, and I'm sure it's been done before, but it's nothing that I haven't seen anybody do it. But the idea came to me as a thing that I wanted to make. And I think that I'm in a good place for this project. If anything, because I have completely accepted that it is very possible that this novel will never see the light of day. Like, if I write it and I get it out of my system and it turns out that I don't like writing and I don't like it's not good, and then I don't have to show it to anybody. But if I'm in that situation, I still want to make it anyway. That feels like it's a good sign that I should do that. But we'll see, let's see, where do we leave off? Oh, yeah. Oh, is that a 3D print in the background? Yes, it's new. I got it a couple weeks ago. I have been wanting to get one for ages. I had a resin printer, but I gave it away because resin printers are annoying as shit. But I got this FDM printer. It's a Bamboo Mini, which is sort of like the most beginner, noob-friendly printer that like exists. And I've been making minis and stuff like that because I bought into the Trench Crusade Kickstarter, and I wanted to make my the minis that I bought. And I've been also kind of, unfortunately, I don't have the free time, nor is there really a scene for it in London here. But like, I've been trying to get into miniature wargaming, but there's not really like, unless I wanted to, pay a small fortune to get into Warhammer, there's really not much of a scene here. So I have to like figure out what I'm going to do about that. I'm hoping that Trench Crusade is like one of those things that's going to get bigger when it actually like, it gets out of playtesting and actually becomes like a real product that people can buy on shelves, and then I can have a warband ready to play it. But who knows? Have I read anything by Adrian Tchaikovsky? Maybe, but if I do, I don't remember what the book would be. As an American, I feel like I have to apologize to the Canadians for what has been done. Hey, just kind of like get rid of your president, please. That's like if you really want to make it up to us, just oppose the president. It's that easy. I feel like this trade war is going to hurt you guys more than it's going to hurt us. So, I think it sucks for everybody. I want to ask something related to your PhD. Is there any good writing about how American popular fiction reacted to 9/11 in an overblown, self-pitying way? Ooh. When I kind of left academia, I don't remember there being very much on that. Okay, yeah, actually there is one book that I think that might fit the bill of what you're going for. The thing though is that it's about 9/11, but it's also about Oklahoma City, and it's also about kitsch. Let me see if I can find that book. Tourists of History, that's it. Tourists of History, Memory, Kitchen, Consumerism, From Oklahoma City to Ground Zero by Marita Sturkin. That is the novel, or that's novel. That is the book that's about like the way about basically about national trauma and about like how that intersects with capitalism, and it touches on the kind of like how Americans process grief in that way. There's also another book that's not about 9/11, but it's also kind of hinting that it's about 9/11, even though the book is technically about Pearl Harbor, by Jill Lepore, but I can't remember what the name of it is anymore. But Jill Lepore is like a pretty famous U.S. history author. Let's see. Absolutely needs to be more books written like history. Yeah. I'm listening to a Battlestar Galactica rewatch podcast, and that's kind of ridiculous how they use the apocalyptic nuclear war for 9/11 stand-in. Yeah, actually, during COVID, Kelly and I tried to watch Battlestar Galactica, or I tried to rewatch it for the first time since, like, watching it when it was coming out originally, and we couldn't get through it. It was too dark. It was too fucked up. Like the Battlestar Galactica TV show is kind of messed up, and kind of like everything from that like early 2000s period that really like leans into war on terror stuff is kind of messed up. It has a lot of like there's a lot of like people like making weird apologetics for torture and all sorts of horrible war crimes and stuff like that. I don't know, man. It was a messed up time. If Trump dropped dead tomorrow, how much of the stuff would he do you think would be carried on by Vance? Oh boy. God, President J.D. Vance is such a horrifying idea. I feel like it would be... It's such a hard... I think that there's a lot of stuff that, like... There's a few things that are, like, on Trump's agenda that are very obviously, like, stupid bugbears that only Trump cares about. Like, this trade war with Canada. Like, I don't know if there's anybody in his, like, anybody in his circle who really wants this to happen. I think that was... I don't think like that's going to work out. I think that's very much Trump's hobby horse. So I think that kind of stuff would probably end. But J.D. Vance seems to care a lot about like cozying up with Russia, implementing Curtis Yarvin's fucking weird neo-reactionary agenda. And so you'd probably see more of a lean in on that. Like, more of like, Elon Musk running the government type thing. But I also don't know if the regime would be able to hold steady in that time, because I don't think JD Vance has the juice to like Trump barely has the juice to keep the MAGA people happy. The MAGA people are fucking losing it. But and JD Vance would probably be even worse. When was the U.S. never a crazy glade? Yeah. The green candidate we had in BGOS was really good. Gave me a run for my money. And probably took a lot of the people who would have voted NDP otherwise. Nothing but short blades. Multiple arms, mechanical arms. Nothing but short blades. Cud run. Yeah, the good old, what's it called? The General Kenobi run. That's actually one of the runs. Like, that's one of the Cud. That's like my first like serious Caves of Cud run was like a 4-armed like two-handed blade guy who also has a horn. I need to play more of that game. That game is fun. Oh God, you're Canadian. I'm so sorry. Yeah. Yeah, I live in London, Ontario. The exact place that what's it called is from. You know how Jason Slaughter and of Not Just Bikes fame is always using London, Ontario as an example of how to not do urban design? So I live in that. It's one of the reasons why I have to own a car. Because, yeah, our public transit is... I would say it's getting better, but it is it's still not good. The fact that I feel like I needed to have a car, and the fact that after I got a car, our lives in this town were just so much better. Sad, because, you know, you don't want life to be that way. But here we are. I feel like I recognize this background. Is it just that you played on the stream, or it's because of a game I played? I don't know. This is from a YouTube video called "Chill Vibes and Relaxing Gaming Music Mix 3 Hours Stream Safe Background Music." So I've never played this before. This is new, but I kind of like this. This is kind of like that chill lo-fi beats type music, and I feel like I'm in a chill lo-fi beats kind of mood today, so that kind of works. These glasses, these glasses means that Tristan is now the chill lo-fi beats version of myself. I feel like I have become middle-aged just by buying these glasses, which is fine. I'm gonna be 40 in, like, you know, 3 years and change, so I might as well get used to the idea that I'm gonna be middle-aged pretty soon. You do comedy or amateur? Do it for also write and want to write more? I think you writing a novel or book anytime would be thought-provoking. Thank you. You should definitely write the book. The worst possible outcome is that you write a bad book, and goodness knows you wouldn't be the first. Yeah, that is true. You remember sharing your sci-fi novel idea you liked? Yes. I guess I did talk about it a little ways back. Yeah, the idea of it is supposed to be that it is a kind of like I feel like this is like one of the oldest stories in the book, but basically it, you know, with the way that, like, Paramount owns Star Trek right now, and so I don't think that Paramount is going to is not going to make the Star Trek that the moment needs. And so I very much am like, you know what, if you know, Star Trek isn't going to be what I want it to be, then I should make the thing that I want Star Trek to be. And in doing so, I kind of then was like, well, what is my, like, you know, my spin on, like, an optimistic sci-fi space opera future, especially if I can start from scratch. And so I wrote, like, a whole, like, you know, kind of story thing about, like, kind of imagining, and I think it was a really healthy experiment, but or thought experiment, which was very much like imagining what getting a like imagining our situation right now and how we get to a situation in the future where humanity has worked through all of its problems. And it was tough, but I think I got onto something. I think I came up with something that I was pretty proud of. And yeah, I talked about it a little bit, like, a long time ago, but now I'm finally taking the time to, like, make a thing. And I have some cool ideas. I have one concept for an alien species that I'm very excited to use in one of the stories. And yeah, I'm gonna write the thing. I'm gonna do a little bit of time and get it out. Trench Crusade rules are killer, ultra modern. Yeah, I love the whole blood token thing. I think that I as someone who comes from, like, you know, tabletop gaming of various kinds, like, you know, D&D or, like, you know, role-playing games, but also board gaming and stuff, the fact that, like Warhammer 40k's rules are fucking kludgy as shit, and also requires just having so much. There's just so much. There's so much. The system is just so heavy, and there's so many books, and the models are so expensive that it's just like, okay, I'm not. There's no way I'm going to become a, like, Warhammer 40k player. I'm never gonna have 4 hours to play a game. I'm never gonna have, like, you know, I'm never gonna be comfortable spending the money that it would require to even make, like, a 1,000 point army. So even though, you know, the faction that I would play is pretty cheap right now because they came, and the 2-player starter pack comes with the faction that I play in, Space Marines, and so people buy it for the Space Marines and then try to eBay the other ones. So I just knew it, but yeah, Trench Crusade, really good. I love its embrace of 3D printing. I love its embrace of kit bashing and proxies and all that kind of thing. And honestly, like, I didn't understand tabletop wargaming, and it's been like my sort of like my depth into the scene. Like, I didn't realize how much, kind of like with like RPGs, how much there's like a DIY aspect to it, and not just on like the model making, but on like the sort of like on the gameplay front too, and how much people like get into like making their backstories for their war bands and stuff like that. And I didn't know about any of that aspect of the game, and I've been enjoying learning about it quite a bit. Have you thought of collaborating with other YouTubers like FT Signifier, Foreign Man to Foreign Land? I feel like if they knew of your channel, they'd really appreciate your content. They are aware of my channel. I know that they're both Nebula creators. We're all mutuals on Blue Sky. I don't know if FD has ever seen any of my content, but I think he did, because I think because there was a time not long ago where FD was like a really small YouTuber, and I think he used to. I think I remember him commenting on some of my stuff like a long time ago. But in Foreign, like, I don't know Foreign too well, but he's like a big Nebula guy, and we're definitely mutuals, and I think we've had a couple conversations. But yeah, like, I like both of their work though. I mean, when I can watch it, I feel like FT Signifier's videos are getting so long that I can't really. I'm like, I like this. This topic sounds interesting. Does it sound 4.5 hours interesting? I don't know. But I mean, he's making good. Obviously, I feel like me saying that FT Signifier is making good stuff is like kind of is a stupid thing to say, because like it's so obvious that he makes really good stuff, and it's reflected in the fact that he's very popular. And Foreign, same deal, right? Have I ever watched the OG 70s Battlestar Galactica? No, I haven't. Do you remember Star Trek Enterprise's post 9/11 season 3? Yeah, it was a fucking disaster. I hated it. London, Ontario. Definitely heard of that place. Ontario seems like a beautiful place. I'm from Wisconsin, so we're basically cousins. Yeah. Yeah, Ontario is a nice place. It's huge, is the thing. Like, Ontario is like the size of like 4 or 5 American states. So when you're saying Ontario, you're referring to a lot of different places. Like, you know, it has like, you know, Toronto, like Ontario has Toronto, the largest city in the country that is larger than the city of Chicago. It has London, a like, you know, 500-ish thousand people, which puts us, I think, in like the top 10 cities by size in the country. But like, you know, surrounded by like, you know, flat farmland for the most part. But then you have like up north, you have like the Canadian Shield, you have like dense woods and forest and like country places that like, you know, the only people who really like there's very small isolated communities and like just like, you know, remote mines and like lumber camps, and like that's where like there's a lot of indigenous reserves and stuff like that. Like, and then you have like Ottawa, the country's capital. Like, Ontario is huge and has all sorts of different like aspects to it. It's actually kind of a problem because Ontario has, you know, it has southern Ontario, which I live in, which is like where most of the population of the province lives. But then you have this vast northern area that has, you know, rural issues, have like, you know, their very own, they have like, you know, large indigenous population with indigenous issues. They have a whole, you know, a whole different set of priorities and problems. But because Toronto is so like, you know, so huge, it sort of overshadows any issues they have. All right. The whole anti-woke movement is nostalgia and aspects of the early 2000s. The raunchy culture and hyper-masculine action heroes and the edgy dialogue and all those things. Yeah. You're not wrong. The anti-woke movement is saying, take us back, please. Give us American Pie and Duke Nukem. Yeah. I kind of forgot about that period of history until... Oh, why are you squeaking? There was an actor who died like a couple days ago, right? And she was... she played Harriet the Spy. And I remember, though, that she was in a movie called Eurotrip. And I feel like Eurotrip was like... the like peak of that period, and like it just blew my mind because I was like, I haven't thought about Eurotrip in like 20 years, and then I remembered that this woman was in it, and I was like, oh yeah, Jesus Christ, that movie was a fucking train wreck. It is what's it called? Eurotrip is everything that was wrong with like the 2000s, the like 00s. Will Canada start selling all of its oil to Japan now? I don't know yet. Canada's got some like, we've got a lot of work to do. If we're going to like realign, like, we have a lot of issues with like oil is going to be a big problem for us. Because here's the problem that we have to deal with. It's just one, we sell almost all of our oil to the United States. And even with the tariffs, we'll probably still do that. The reason is that there's a couple ones. One, infrastructure. The thing is that this is like the big part about the trade war that's going to be such a painful thing for Canada and the U.S. And that is that Canada and the U.S. have been spending so many years, really like decades, better part of a century, with like a highly integrated economy. And that means that like our oil is basically like all of our infrastructure for our oil is designed for getting it out of the ground and sending it on pipes that go all the way down to Texas, where they get refined and go into like, you know, the Gulf of Mexico and everything like that to go out to international markets. We have some refining capacity in Canada, but it's not enough. And the thing is, with the amount that we produce, even if we wanted to sell it all to Japan, it would be a huge pain in the ass because we don't have pipelines that go to the Pacific coast. So, you know, all of our oil, like the reason why we sell oil at a massive discount to the United States, because it's more profitable to sell oil at a discount to the Americans than to, you know, pay for all the fucking pipelines and stuff that would, you know, that would make it so you could have a pipeline, like a, you know, a literal, like, you know, way to get oil to the Pacific coast. And that's going to be an issue. And it's still going to be fucking bitumen, which is a extremely low quality oil that is very expensive to refine. In fact, that's what's one of the many reasons why Canadian oil is really only profitable when oil is really expensive. Like, when oil gets cheap, Canadian oil starts to get really, really unprofitable. To the point where when oil got really cheap, like when, when Saudi Arabia and Russia did that whole thing in like 2020, that, like, Alberta had a fucking field day. It fell apart. It was an absolute disaster for them. And so, like, if we're, like, you know, on a tariff thing with the United States, a 10% thing, we're to get that oil to any other market is going to require a bunch of infrastructure programs, and for very, very good reasons. Anytime we build pipelines they're fiercely resisted because, we shouldn't be developing oil, right? Like, oil is not a thing that we should be. There isn't a future in oil. We shouldn't be dumping all of these resources into making a product that, by all rights, we should stop using, right? So there's that. Yeah, so one day, something. Gave up on 40k years and it's pretty much all tabletop gaming thereafter. I'll get into it. 3D printing is a scam like crypto and CRISPR. These new claw hands aren't as good as my old normal flesh hands. Oh boy. I don't even know what to respond to that. 3D printing is not a scam. That's a silly thing to say. I feel like there's just like is this just like the new left-wing thing of like left-wing? The new internet left-wing thing of like anytime a new technology comes out, it is now bad by default, and we must react against it. We must become techno-reactionaries, and we must return to a prelapsarian agrarian society. We need to go trad because otherwise, like, I don't know, it's fucking bullshit. I don't like that. I don't like the way that's like one thing about the online left that I find very fucking tedious. I won't lie. Is just like, hey, look, a new technology. I don't understand how it works. I have put no effort into learning about it, but I don't like it because the people who have it are bad because and therefore you should write it off entirely and be really fucking mad about it all the time. Either way, 3D printing is cool, and now a lot of people buy it. A lot of people buy into it and then make a lot of bullshit with it. But 3D printing as a concept, very cool. And I definitely look forward to my future of like, this thing and like solar panels and like my electric car and having a lot more, not completely self-sustainability, but a lot more of like less dependence on like fossil fuels and like, buying shit off Amazon and like stuff like that. So. Plus also, like, I love the idea that, like, if I wanted to make something, I can just, like, sculpt it and make it happen. Like, I made a stand for my, like, my VR headset, which is, like, down there. And it just, like, happened. It just existed. It just came out of the ether. And it's like, that's so cool. And, like, it allows for a lot more people to be creative and make really cool prototypes or things that are really customized or something like that. It said for alternate history where someone kind of similar to Muhammad is born in the 5th century Britain. It makes a religion that emphasizes scholarship more. That medieval Christianity did something like the Islamic Golden Age happens in Europe instead of the Dark Ages and made more possible today. Do you think that's plausible? Maybe. The thing is that the power of the church is going to be the big issue in that one. Like, a lot of the sort of Dark Ages stuff is more the fact that, like, the authority of Rome becomes a major thing. And even then, the term Dark Age is actually kind of not a term that medievalists like to use anymore, because that period is actually not as regressed as people think it is. And there's actually a lot more going on than we like to think. So there's some food for thought. I did actually think of the other day a alternate history scenario in kind of the same, not the 5th century, but a little bit later, where I had the concept of the two alternate histories that I was thinking about the other day were One was if the what's it called? The French lost the Battle of Tours, and basically Islam pushed its like the sort of kingdoms of Al-Andalus spread into a good chunk of modern day France, northern Italy, and Germany, and because of that, like Christianity was like severely weakened, and you have this period where like Europe is a lot more of like Christians and Muslims spend a lot more time being like physically integrated with each other. Like you have a lot more Christians living under Muslim rule. You have a lot, and because of like Muslim rulers instead of like Christian rulers, you have like a lot more tolerance for like other religions. There's a lot more like Jews living and like living in these communities, and you have a lot more like you have a lot more of like older pagan faiths and stuff like that, and like it's just like a whole list of things. And then also just like it changes the whole like sort of path of philosophy, because like law becomes like Christianity evolves to involve some aspects of like Sharia, theological philosophy, because you can't just have two cultures live next to each other without like them intermingling. You have like Islamic kingdoms getting involved in the Americas, and then I was like, well, that'd be interesting, because both when Christians took slaves in like the sort of like because the thing is that slavery for a long time was like was not a thing you were supposed to do in Christianity, and so they had to like make like justification for slavery, and slavery existed under Islam, but it was very different and it functioned in a very different way. And so I was thinking that like, oh, like these differing like worldviews would have very different ideas about colonization and how it would work and what it would be, because like, for example, Christians care a lot more about converting people. Muslims do not, because Christians would try to convert their slaves. Muslims would not, because Muslims have like kind of rule where you can't really enslave other Muslims. They're like they have a whole different philosophy on banking where there's no interest, and they have an entire different legal structure, and very often and because these things would like a lot of Islamic rulers would also not have like these kind of like unifying legal structures, so you would have like in modern day almost like a bunch of like parallel legal structures and philosophies sort of living on top of each other in a much more complicated way, and I thought that was kind of neat. The other one is just if the Council of Nicaea didn't come to a conclusion about what books would be in the canon of Christianity, and then Christianity develops down a path where like basically there's like a lot of different like Christianity is a lot more diversity, because there isn't like an agreed upon set of books for the Bible. Michelle Trachtenberg. Oh yeah, that's her name. Eurotrip is a classic raunchy aughts movie. Terrible, but turn your brain off funny. Yeah. Let's see. He was trolling you? No, there was actually talk about how Japan was wanting to import Canadian oil. There was this whole thing where, like, because I think Japan imports a lot of its oil from the United States. And there was some serious talk about Japan wanting to move from importing American oil to importing Canadian oil, because Canada is just seen as a more, reliable partner. Because all the stuff that's going on in the U.S. is doing one really critical thing, which is that countries are realizing that America is not really a country that you can like do business with and rely on them. And we definitely must react against how AI has been capitalized by mega corporations. Yeah, yeah. The way that it's being used is definitely a problem. Um, in some places, like definitely like what fucking Sam Altman's doing is fucking bullshit. That's for sure. But it's already becoming fairly clear that Sam Altman is not the future of the technology. Like, OpenAI, like what's it called? You already have Microsoft getting rid of its like data or canceling its plans to build like massive data centers, and the fucking DeepSeek release a few like weeks ago showed that like that and the rise of the reasoning models has shown that like big data center sort of like training is not really the future of that technology. Even OpenAI has admitted that. Like they pretty much said that like their newest model that just came out like a couple like days ago is like by far the biggest and most expensive model they've ever made, and it's only marginally better than the one they had before. And that they're going to like it's the last one before they go back into like this new sort of like reasoning based type of AI tech. And you know, now there's models that can run on like a computer that you can buy at home, and that you know the developments are happening in very interesting ways where like you know as China's entering into the game and everything like that. But yeah, is it? Yeah, I feel like I have a very strong like I have like. I'm not going to get too much into it because I made it very clear on my channel before that like my takes on AI are not as reactionary as a lot of the sort of online left has, and it's very clear from like the state of discourse that people are not ready to have that conversation. So I have just kind of contented myself to just mute any references to AI on Blue Sky, and try to just not talk about it publicly very much, because yeah, we're just not at the point where we're having a constructive conversation about it, because nobody wants to. People, you know, it's not God, it's also not Satan, and it's not going to replace literally everything in society. It's also not going to replace. It's also not going to be completely useless. And the sooner we realize that, the better. And it's like energy and efficiency is a major problem, but it is one that there is an absurd amount of energy and resources being put into fixing. From chip architecture to things to the point where, like, for example, you know, in 2022 when GPT 3.0 sort of graced the internet publicly for the first time, you know, you needed like a massive data center to run that thing, and now there are models that are more powerful than that can run on a desktop computer. So, you know, the technology has come an absolutely astronomical amount of distance in the last, like, you know, 3 years. So, and like, so if there's anything you can claim, it's that frickin' OpenAI was really dumb about releasing a technology before it had been properly optimized for public usage, and in doing so, wasted a fuckload of electricity. But it's not like cryptocurrency in the fact that, like, cryptocurrency kind of doesn't have a way out of the fact that it is energy wasting, because energy wasting is kind of at the core of its entire the entire way its math works. But artificial intelligence doesn't need that. And there's all sorts of like there is like endless amounts of incentives that there aren't with like cryptocurrency or whatever to push for, you know, increasing efficiency and making it work more smoothly. And it's happening very fast. Anyways, not a conversation I really need to have more because, yeah, just we're not the discourse has not matured to that point yet. Everyone is kind of just mad, so I just try not to talk about it much. Let's see. Not too sure how microplastics have been personally weird about that. I mean, yeah, the microplastics are everywhere, and filament is definitely not the best part about this. Luckily, this is like I'm just kind of, I don't know if you guys noticed, I've been messing with the supports on this thing. PLA plastic, which is what these are here, is plant derived, so there's at least that. But yeah, at the end of the day, the microplastics from a 3D printer are going to be the least of your trouble when it comes to the overall microplastics problem. And the big problem with microplastics is that we kind of just don't know what they're going to do. One said, idea alt history of Muhammad never existed, and there's still the Middle Ages, and we're still at like Middle Ages tech because the Islamic Golden Age never happened. Is that too, great man? Yes and no. I don't know. Like unfortunately, unless you could actually do the experiment, you can't really tell if like Muhammad was like, you know, if there's anything singular about him that changed everything, or if there was always going to be at some point, like, you know, somebody who would bring the sort of Arabian Peninsula into the Abrahamic religions, and that Muhammad just happened to be the one that did it. You know, people say the same thing about, like, you know, like if Hitler was never born, would there still be a World War II? And it's like, you know, probably. There was a lot of things going for it. Would it have happened the exact same way? Who knows? And unfortunately, we can't really do experiments to find out. I believe the AI enhanced images are different than AI generated. AI is mostly the person's art who is image. The fact that AI weirdly has been adopted by so many corporations, online corporations, and companies, and so on, is pretty much leaning into the bastardization. Yeah, I gotta say, like, there's definitely nobody who is making the case against AI better than like how companies are using it, because, and this happens every time a new technology comes out, is that everybody tries to use it for purposes that make no sense, and it's always a disaster. And then, you know, you give it time, and the actual useful use cases come through, and then, you know, we all kind of work out, the kinks get worked out, and eventually we reach a new equilibrium based on what we have developed, or what we find actually works. And yeah, that's that. You know, then you just kind of move on with your life, and then things develop. AR won't replace human art because art consumers want a story behind the work and need to understand what the artist feels like. Sure, that makes sense. I think that, yeah, there's a lot of things about art and the creative process that, by the thing being made by a math equation, definitely won't accomplish. There are some things it will, but it's not the kinds of things that we're thinking of. Like I think that like AI image generation is going to have its role in like things like textures. Some people have used it as like brainstorming tools, or as like reference model inspiration stuff. But yeah, I think it's going to be a very, 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 very long time before the images are going to have like all of the sort of weird, glitchy stuff taken out of it. But what's going to happen is that it's definitely going to be jumped upon by people who will kind of roll with the shittiness to save a couple bucks, and it's going to blow up in their face. It kind of already has. Again, capitalists will try to use it to not hire people, realize that they can't do it, and they're going to be worse off as a result. And so after the sort of like, hopefully, after a sort of like AI crash, that does seem to be like in the motions of happening now, that we can then, we can finally grow up and figure out where it is actually useful and where it isn't, and sort of go from there, instead of like, trying to say that it is both the most important thing that has ever happened, and it's also completely useless and can't do anything, because it's neither of those. And I really hate both of those arguments, and I wish we would stop making them. I wish we would have a more, again, I wish I could wait until we just have a more grown-up conversation about this technology, which I think we might have to wait a while for, because people are kind of entrenched in that. But whatever. That's life. When you say you think the Dark Ages is an outdated term, do you mean in the sense that Byzantine and the Islamic world were still doing interesting stuff that period? Medievalists have said that even people in like Western Europe and stuff were doing interesting stuff in that period. The term is kind of a misnomer. Like, there wasn't like the sort of collapse and rebuilding was faster and less like, less intense than you think it was. And so like people who have studied in that period show there's actually like a lot of innovation happening. There's a lot of like interesting history, and like, there's a lot of more stuff going on than people thought. It wasn't like this age of ignorance and backwardness that people think it is. I can't stand Ayn Rand, not even a bit. This is a here. I'll go watch the Daredevil before I work 2 jobs. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't vote for this clown show. Yeah, yeah. Do I think the USSR was a net good for the world or a net negative? Oh boy, man. I have this like document that I've made that is like this this collection of axioms that I have about the world and predictions and sort of human nature. And I go back to it over and over again because they're ideas that I hold, but they're very often ideas that I forget or that I fail to appreciate. And the one that, when you're thinking about the USSR, that I think applies the most is that I don't really think in nets like that, things are, and I would argue most things, are both good and bad at the same time. And unfortunately, it's kind of impossible to, it's kind of impossible for one to cancel out the other, despite how much we would like it to. The case that I always come to is like, I had this discussion with somebody, and it was about vitamin D. And someone was like, "Oh yeah, you should definitely like there's two kind of currents going on right now about sunlight. One is that everybody needs to have sunlight because sunlight has vitamin D." And actually, there's a lot of places, especially places like here, that don't get a lot of sunlight in the wintertime, where vitamin D is in short supply, and we kind of don't know what kind of impact that has on human health. And there's some thought, people are going back and forth, like, is vitamin D like essential, or is it? There's one study that my doctor told me about where it's like, actually, vitamin D might not have any impact on it, might not do much at all. You might not actually need that much vitamin D. But just for the sake of argument, say that vitamin D does have good health benefits, and so that sunlight does give you vitamin D. At the same time, people are also pointing out that sun exposure gives you cancer. And that we should, if we were being more true to ourselves, if we were being cared more about our health, we would put more effort into sunscreen and various things to block our skin from exposure to the sun unnecessarily. And the thing is that both of those, and I would probably say that it's very likely that both of those are true. That the sun gives you vitamin D, which is the thing that you need to survive, and it gives you cancer. And that is just, you can't really say, like, is sun a net positive or net negative, because both of those facts are true. And I honestly, like, one of my axioms for understanding things in the world and stuff like that is really trying to grok that concept, to really understand that concept, that things can be good and bad, and that nothing really cancels each other out. They just are both those things. And that to do otherwise is to apply a human category onto something that fundamentally is a construct of our minds. Let's see. The only good thing coming out of the last month has been seeing Pierre Poilievre, previously on the bag election, turning competitive because he's kind of a quisling. Yeah, the sort of like sucking up to Trump type behavior on the conservative side of the Canadian political sphere, meeting with the fact that, like, now Trump is being, like, actively hostile towards Canadian sovereignty, has resulted in some, let's just say the conservatives have some soul searching to do, and they haven't really found an answer that really satisfies them yet. So, yeah. Some people need more D than others. That is true. That is true. I know you're making a joke, but like, for example, if you live the combination of darker skin and higher latitudes will vary the amount of vitamin D. Like, if you are, and this is like, because like we're not talking about like a whole lot of vitamin D, but like the people who like would have like the most likelihood of having a vitamin D deficiency would be like if you had very, very dark skin and you lived in a very, very northern climate, or a very, very southern climate, like a climate that doesn't get a lot of sun. Like if you are like a black person living in Sweden, vitamin D might be a thing you might need, just because darker skin is an adaptation to places that have more sun radiation to protect protect themselves from cancer. And unfortunately, as part of that, it does reduce the amount of vitamin D that their body synthesizes through sunlight. Which means that in climates where the sun is very, very weak, like Sweden, as an example, then yeah, they might find themselves with a vitamin D deficiency. And even so, it can be supplemented through food for the most part. So unless you were like, it's probably going to be more like a thing if you are like a black person who lives in Sweden and also is like a vegan or something like that, then you might run into problems. But vegans also, smart vegans anyway, know that they have to take a few supplements in order to be healthy, right? Like, I think most smart vegans would take like a vitamin B12, and most of them would probably have some kind of iron supplement also. Just because those, like, iron is one of those things that, like, it's you can get it from plant matter, but it's way easier to get from meat, and it's very if you, there's like ways to go about it, but it's like it's way easier if you're vegan to just take an iron supplement than it is to like find a way to cram more spinach into your food all the time, right? That kind of thing. Hopefully what I said made sense. I feel like, has the chat stopped? Once it passes human level intelligence, it's literally either of those. I don't buy the or at least for now, I don't really buy the idea of a generative AI program like having actual consciousness, or having like like breaking human level intelligence. At the end of the day, it fundamentally works in a completely different way than human brains do. Not as fundamentally different as you'd think, but enough that like to get what people are thinking, what people think they're going to be getting out of like to get something like ChatGPT to have human level intelligence would, at the current moment, require an amount of computing power that we are not capable of doing feasibly. And at the same time, like, I think that I don't think that something like a generative AI text model is going to be the thing that has genuine sentience. But as we're kind of seeing, not that you guys, I don't know if anyone cares about this. This is sort of the things that I think about, but like right now, one of the things that's happening in AI research is that the idea of making bigger and bigger models is becoming less and less viable, and everybody knows it. And so the new big things have been two things. One, distillation, which is taking bigger models and making smaller models out of them by training one on the other and making models that are still really, really high performing, but are very, very low in the amount of parameters, which means less matrix multiplications, which means way less power usage, which, you know, means way less of, like, I don't know what they would say, like, this thing uses 80 quadrillion oceans of water to make one sentence, or whatever sort of hyperbole is being used at any given moment. But, like, you know, less of that. That's how DeepSeek is so successful. Now, the thing, though, is that, like, we're moving into a period where reasoning models are becoming more the thing. Like, models that think through problems before they answer. And that's one thing. But the talk about OpenAI for what GPT-5 is going to be, the model that comes after the one that they're working on right now, is more interesting because what they have said is that it's going to, instead of like here's the reasoning model, here's the model that writes really well, here's the model that goes on the internet and all that kind of stuff, instead what will happen is that it will interpret the thing that you say and find the tool for it. And my guess is that in the future we're going to have a lot of these different types of models and approaches to things. We're already kind of seeing these like multimodal things, that we're going to see more of like multiples of these things kind of collaborating and working together in a sort of combined sense. And that's going to generate probably something closer to what will be like if like there's artificial sentience is to happen. It'll probably come out of something like that. And you know, with a bunch of stuff that we haven't even come close to yet, because we are much further away from, like, you know, genuine intelligence than we'd like to think. But that's it. Yeah. If you want to avoid debates about plausibility, should you make the point of divergence events in alternate history black swan events like asteroid plagues rather than really small stuff? I don't know, because I think that part of the alternate history appeal is the sort of thought experiment aspect of it, right? Like, we can't do, like, history as a discipline can't really do experiments, right? You can't, like, rerun the timeline but change one variable. So the only way that you can really, you know, approach these kinds of questions, like, if you think about it, like the Muhammad one that you put forward earlier, right? Like, what if Muhammad never existed or something like that? That then poses a very interesting question that historians would love to have an answer for, which is like, how much, like one of the core ones, just like, how much do individuals versus like larger trends and forces play in the sort of shape of events in history? And running the kind of counterfactual, doing the sort of intellectual work to make an alternate history scenario is kind of doing that, like the sort of work to get as close as you can to thinking how you can move through things. And and it's a really good exercise, especially for like new historians, because in your approach to doing an alternate history scenario, you are thinking about the period you're in. You're thinking about how different things are connected to each other. You're thinking about a lot of different like aspects of causality and connection and all those kinds of things that is important for a historian to do. And so, I think that the small things do have value. Hopefully that makes sense. So, I don't know why I did this, but I took all the supports off this print, even though it's a failure. This is a failed print. Literally, I'm printing another one of these on that bed right now, because this one has one of the feet on it is messed up, and one of the cannons on its back is messed up. But it's a pretty cool looking... I don't know if I can actually get it to focus on this thing. Yeah, there we go. Hell yeah. But this is like part of the warband that I need to make, so I need to like get one of these to actually print properly, so that it can go along with this guy. See if I can get this to show well. This guy. Yeah, there we go. The fucking Lord of Tumors. Yeah. Good old Lord of Tumors. Everyone loves a Lord of Tumors. And then go with this Plague Knight. That's not going to focus, is it? It's too small. Just assume there's a really cool Plague Knight here. And then got this one here. This is a Plague Hound. Very cool little dog guy. And then what else we got? This is a Corpse Guard. It's not coming through really well. No, it doesn't really want to focus on this thing. But this guy's got like a big tick on his shoulder that sort of sucks his blood, and the whole idea is that he can like this guy like is like a bodyguard and like heals other people with like the tick or something. I don't really know how it works. But do I have backstory for the warband yet? I definitely do. It's called the Gethsemane Commune, and the warband is a what's it called? The Lord of Tumors. I'm gonna try to kit bash this is just the first Lord of Tumors. I'll make a better one when I actually learn some sculpting and kit bashing. But basically a village in like Anatolia that is deeply divided through like class, through like, you know, differing approaches to faith, and a lot of different like divisions and stuff like that. Has two... What's it called? Has a priest and a nun sort of come to town to try and help mend these things and like participate. But at some point they like fall into a forbidden romance. And then the sort of like church finds out, and that if they found out, they would be like, you know, like burned as heretics. And so they sort of go to the sort of garden in Gethsemane, and they pray to anybody who will listen to save them from the situation. And that is when, unbeknownst to them, because it arrives looking like an angel, but that is when Beelzebub sort of makes a deal with them. And in their effort to mend the fractured town, they introduce the Black Grail to Gethsemane, and basically, in doing so, they definitely mend the fissures between the people in the town, because it literally like meshes them all together into a giant Cronenberg blob. Like, this piece, when it's in my warband and it's done, is going to be called Gethsemane, because it's going to be the villagers of the town who have all just kind of been smushed together into a fucking flesh monster. and then the Lord of Tumors and the either a corpse guard or a plague knight are going to be the priest, and they're going to sort of be like they're going to walk around trying to add new people to their commune, and that's going to be that sort of backstory behind my Black Grail warband. They are FDM, yeah. What's it called? The Bamboo Mini with the right, like I bought the I bought a really small nozzle with it, and like with good settings, you know. These aren't like resin quality prints, but they're pretty good. And honestly, like I'm not I'm not nerdy enough about miniatures to really like be able to be like, oh, I don't know, there's like details here, like that's not gonna bother me much. Let's see. Whatever happened to that D&D scenario you talked about a while ago about a post-apocalyptic anti-tech cult and stuff? Oh, yeah, that campaign kind of just fizzled out. We couldn't get we couldn't get the group back together, and then just kind of nobody bothered to pick it up again. But Kelly, my partner, she really liked that setting, and she thought it was really cool. And it's kind of developed into this idea that I might make into a game at some point, where it will be like a sort of... If you've ever heard of a game called 5 Parsecs from Home, which is sort of like a solo war game / RPG type thing. So my plan is to eventually, someday make the setting into a solo war game / like colony building role playing game thing. That the big selling point will be, though, is that you can make the scenario and the setting for your game with a like a gas station paper map of your town, and you can mark off like scavenging and stuff like that through that map. And on top of that, using like sorry, using like your like local issues and local landmarks and stuff like that to shape these settings so that you can have it kind of be on your own. Because one of the things we had in the setting is that one of the people in our group was really interested in like the role of artificial intelligence and technology and stuff like that, and so for her, I made like we kind of live like there's like outside of the city there's like Mennonite communities and stuff like that, so we made like a sort of radical Mennonite anti-technology thing that sort of got its start like this group before the apocalypse happened got really riled up when the Canadian government gave AIs a sort of like the Canadian Supreme Court gave AIs a semi personhood or something like that, and they didn't like it. Are you excited for the Star Trek Con audio drama that was just announced? Sure. If it's good, I'd listen to it. Audio dramas are cool. Underutilized thing. I've listened to a couple of the Doctor Who ones, and they're pretty good. I'd take it. But yeah, I think that the big selling point, though, of that game would be that you make the setting using a like gas station map of your hometown. Oh yeah, on the Gethsemane thing. Like, there was so many layers to the Gethsemane thing because the whole idea, like the actual heresy that the nun and the priest have in the backstory is, and what they do, the sort of thing that invites Beelzebub to make the bond with them, is that they invoke, when they're talking about how unfair the situation they're in is, they talk about Christ. And specifically, if you know about the Bible, the story of Gethsemane is that like Jesus with his apostles is like, hey, stay up with me, like I think I'm gonna get like I'm gonna be betrayed, and all of his followers fall asleep, and Jesus has to go through the night alone. And the whole thing they talk about is like how, like, what if we didn't have to be alone? Like, what if Christ did not have to be alone in that moment? Which sort of goes against the divine plan and is eventually what leads to, like, the heresy that then leads to, you know, the amalgam being made of the town. Yeah. Post-apocalyptic world, the nation-states start off as federations of these madman-style tribes. Yeah, I was going to put that in my setting as well, about because in the post-apocalyptic setting I was running, we were having like the big issue, what like the sort of like scavenging part had actually kind of quieted down, and London was made up of various communities. The main thing that was happening though is that the former states were starting to reestablish themselves. And so the major conflict that was going to be happening in the setting, if the campaign had kept going, was basically the remnants of the Canadian federal government and the remnants of the Ontario government start fighting each other over London. And that would be like the main thing that they have to deal with, because in the years since it happened, they've kind of built their own community. Actually, a handful of communities in London. And so it'd be like, what do you do navigating now that like two states are trying to sort of claim you again? Anyways, that was the idea. I'm realizing that actually we are at time, so I'm going to have to go. But this has been a really good stream. I feel like I feel a lot better. I feel like we've had some fun conversations. You guys are great. I miss doing this. I'm going to keep going at it. Yeah. As I always say, one of the things I think would be everybody needs to do a lot more right now is take care of yourself. Do things that make you happy, you know. Take care of each other. Check in on your neighbors. Check in on your friends and family. Make sure everyone's doing okay. And yeah. And I'll see you guys next time.